Impossible levels are cool, right? They let us theorize the limit of this game, whether it be the human limit or the game's limit. And some people do actually try to beat these, like Eternus, Silent Acropolis, and Angelicide. I just love looking at these because I'm certain that if somebody really wanted to, they could beat them. They're also just some of the best levels I've ever seen. For some reason, impossible levels end up being the highest quality in the game. I'm not exactly sure why, but I struggle to think of many levels I like as much as Ephemeral Abyss, Injury, even a level like Final Destination is one of my favorites. We are fortunately graced by great possible levels like Nelv, Cold Sweat, Layak, The Plunge, but I don't think they could ever truly be the same as an impossible level. Impossible levels are limitless, which means creators can do things that would never be conceived of otherwise. A level like Formosa just couldn't exist without the use of a macro. Even if you wanted to nerf it to human possibility, it wouldn't be enough. You'd have to change the raw gameplay for it to be viable, but if you did, then the level wouldn't be as great as it is. There's just something about the pretty chill song or the very hectic gameplay. You couldn't sync gameplay to the song like this in a possible level. Same with something like Ballistic Wistfully. It doesn't matter how easy you make each individual click, no person could get past this regardless. One of my favorite parts of these is the scale of it. Take the Agents of Hell. If you don't know, it's a part in the unnerved Silent Club stat that includes 6 144 FPS frame perfects, and 2 60 FPS frame perfects as the last 2 jumps. Nobody actually beat it for a long time, but it was verified a few years ago at this point. So that's hard, but Final Fantasy is even harder. Final Fantasy is the Agents of Hell 4 times in a row. This is still one of the hardest challenges in the game, sitting right below VSC at number 4. Also, did you know another challenge harder than VSC got verified? Because I just found that out while looking at the challenge list while making this video. So Final Fantasy is hard, still possible though. But what if there was a level that includes the entirety of Final Fantasy as just 7% of its total runtime? Final Destination by Ice Cave is exactly that. It includes the Agents of Hell 10 times over 3.5 minutes. This level might look kind of bland and empty, but I see so much more in it. It begins pretty normal, obviously being difficult with the Agents of Hell within the first 30 seconds, but after that is when the icon starts teleporting around and literally phasing through objects. It makes it feel like the icon is above the level in a way. I usually imagine the icon and the level as being on the same plane, like the icon is just trying to make it out alive, but this seems like the icon is more powerful and is just toying around. It feels dangerous because this is obviously a game where if you touch anything you die, but it smiles and continues traveling through this place. In most levels, especially a lot of impossible levels, Clubstep monsters are supposed to be an enemy, much bigger than you and pretty mean looking. There are a lot of them in this, but some of them just don't look like you'd expect. They just seem sad or in pain. We never learn why though, since we're just following the icon, and it never stops to find out why. It kind of suggests that the icon isn't from here. I always imagined it coming to this place to just run around, it looking at the monsters like we would look at bugs, not noticing or caring about them. I always felt like there was something we weren't seeing, as if we're just seeing a slice of a higher dimensional setting, mostly because of all the phasing and teleporting the icon does, like it's going behind or in front of objects, even though that is impossible in a 2D game. I mean, just look at some of the structures, they're incomplete and in odd places, and if that's true, then there's probably an explanation as to why the Clubstep monsters look the way they do, an explanation that we can't see or know, and it probably means the level looks nothing like it does on screen. It's a very upbeat and positive level, but I see it as completely terrifying. I look at it as this horrific world where these usually powerful and scary Clubstep monsters are dying, or at least extremely distressed. I look at it as very deadly with all the spikes and probably other deadly stuff we can't see, and I see a being that's very high in power, not worried about any of that because it's also below it, running around in what would be immediate death for anything not as powerful. The level has an amazing ending, ending with the original Final Fantasy. The level wipes out completely, the icon ascends, then is absorbed by the light, making it seem like it's reached some sort of heavenly paradise at the end of everything. The Final Fantasy part is much more decorated than the rest of Final Destination, selling the idea that it's a greater place. With the extremely upbeat and somewhat psychedelic song accompanying what you're seeing, to me it says, despite everything you just saw, you're here now. Show me your heart. Impossible levels go much deeper than just the impossible levels list. I mean, the level I just spent however long talking about isn't even on it. The impossible levels list gets really difficult. Remember how I was talking about Formosa earlier? Did you realize you need to play on 20,000 FPS minimum to beat it? Tidal Wave is number 700, Thinking Space 2 is number 637, and Eternus is only number 438, Formosa being number 9. So it's certainly difficult, but nowhere near the hardest the game can get. On the impossible levels list, you can also view the silent levels list. The impossible levels list has a lot of rules, the biggest one being you can't have gameplay over 15 CPS. The silent levels list ups that to 45 CPS, unless it lasts over 3 seconds, in which you're limited to 30. Also, you're allowed to make levels where you're forced to click 5 times in the same frame. The point is that the silent levels list is similar to the impossible levels list, just with less limitations on what can be on it. Now there are only 59 levels on here, the current number 1 impossible level, Open Window, being at number 40. This list features levels like Unnerved Kingdom of Miraculous and Minus World. The top one used to be a level called Back on Track, which looks like this, and sounds like this. The slow motion icon just really adds to the flavor of the level, if you ask me. The current top one isn't as interesting, but it certainly looks like an impossible level. The silent levels list is basically what happens when you push 2 objects as close together as possible, while still technically leaving a gap big enough for the player's hitbox to pass through. Made by people who are able to make it actually work and can run the game at 184,000 FPS. But this is not the end of the iceberg of difficulty this game contains. The silent levels list still has limits. The CPS is limited, and there are some other limits that we'll talk about later. So let's just get rid of all the rules and talk about the physically possible levels list. This list is full of just nonsense. The first top one, listed anyway, is a level called VSC times 281 trillion. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's just VSC, but 281 trillion times in a row. VSC is 15 seconds, making this level 133 million years long. The rules here are a little strange. The first one is that levels must be physically possible. Makes sense. But if you keep reading, it clarifies that certain real-world laws of physics are ignored when determining physical possibility. Clicks can be faster than the speed of light, and level can require more time than the death of the universe to complete. Only the game engine matters. This is the state of impossible levels at this point. Probably the best level here is PPLO Life, currently sitting at number 16. It's pretty funny. My favorite part is it saying WTF no clip going through this section. You can just watch the whole thing for yourself. It's like 5 minutes and it's pretty fire. The level is actually on the silent levels list at number 38. Wait, if this level is so much harder than Back on Track, how could it possibly be number 30 on the silent level list? This is the ending of PPLO Life. If you're wondering what you're even seeing, you're looking at 1.6 million CPS spam that will continue on for over 10 to the power of 17,000 years, which, like the rule said, is much longer than the lifespan of the universe. It's not even close at all. This is the part that was cut out on the silent levels list version. It's why it's so low on that list. It's just an eerie ending to the level, especially since everything before was upbeat and basically just a shitpost. Harder levels on this list include Nessus is Dead, which looks like this. There are no tricks in what you're seeing. The level comprises of this one really easy click over and over again at a rate of 1 click per second. The reason it's considered much harder than PPLO Life is because it's a quinvigimillion times longer than it. That's a number with 78,000 zeros. The current top one is a level called Yogg-Sothoth, which is the name of one of the most powerful gods from the Cthulhu mythos. Seems like a fitting name. Now, I'm not exactly sure how this level works. It's pretty normal for the most part, but according to the list, it's a level with nearly 2 million CPS for 10 to the power of 300 quadrillion seconds, aka what I think is a centifemtillion seconds. So, we did it. We found the hardest physically possible level in Geometry Dash. Nothing else right now stands higher than level Yogg-Sothoth. Nothing ever created is harder than this. But that hasn't stopped people from making even harder lists. The theoretically possible levels list. Who cares if it's actually possible? Who cares if the level is even real or not? We can put it on the list anyway. This is where things go from insane to just straight up confusing. Rule number 2 states, the level doesn't have to be physically possible, but it needs to be possible assuming GD ran on an abstract game engine capable of operating arbitrarily large finite decimal values with perfect precision, whatever that means. You also have to know a lot of things before you can even read the list. Take the level YA Krutoi Sigma, I don't know how to say that. This is the listed required FPS to beat the level. It's not just a number like on the physically possible levels list, it's an equation that I'm sure most people probably wouldn't be able to solve. Now I want this video to stay kind of short, but you do need to understand what all this stuff means to truly talk about the list. I don't want this whole thing to be really boring and have it derail into a math class, so I'll have to save it for part 2. Trust me, it is interesting, but just too much for one video, I think. I will come back to continue this journey of difficulty, and trust me, even this is not the hardest list in the game. We can go further. That'll all be for next time. Thank you.